Hi, this is the Method Actor Speaks. I'm John Solari. And today, folks, boy, do we have a treat. I was talking to Lorna, who was in the M word, the lady with the vibrator. I told her, well, for bringing these guests, I'll be her vibrator as long as she likes.
She knows nothing about it.
Our name is Wes. We're not in that mess.
Okay. Now, Lorna, would you like to introduce your guests today?
I would love to. I belong to this woman who writes, which is Vicky Abelson, and she said she has once a month, the last Tuesday of the month, she has famous people who read, like Gary Marshall, and she has famous bands. She's at Mickey Dolan, and she said Earth, Wind and Fire are coming in. Everybody was like ecstatic, and I thought, who the heck are they? I mean, I'm from South Africa. We didn't, know who they were in South Africa. Anyway, they were absolutely incredible, absolutely marvelous. We all fell in love with them. It was the best we've ever had, the best music ever that we've had. And then Luisa came up to me, and I was like very flattered, and she said, well, there may be 80 women here. She said, but you and I are going to be best friends forever.
That's great. Now, can I get you guys to give your name for the audience?
Yes, my name is Luisa Dunn.
Luisa Dunn.
Yes, artist, producer, and writer.
And writer.
Yes.
And Larry Dunn.
Larry Dunn.
Larry Dunn.
From the most famous, the name Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, God, I remember that in the clubs in New York and back in, when did you guys begin?
70, 80, 90, on and beyond.
Right. What a privilege just to have you. It's one of the most famous names in music. It's got to be Earth, Wind and Fire. And could I ask you how that name came about?
Well, Maurice White is the visionary and the leader. And he formed a group, I think it was like the very late 60, 69 or 70. And Maurice was a jazz drummer for the Ramsey Lewis Trio. And while performing with Ramsey, and also they did a lot of great music out of Chess Records that was based out of Chicago.
Right.
And Charles Stepney, the great arranger, Louis Satterfield, great bass player, a lot of great musicians there. Minnie Riperton actually was with a group called Rotary Connection that was all there. So anyway, Maurice had his vision to form his own band. So he left Ramsey and kind of took a leap of faith, and he formed his own band. He had Earth, Wind and Fire, and there was these older guys from Chicago at that point, like I think 69 or something, and they had a record deal. They did 2 albums for Warner Brothers Records, and eventually they broke up. They all quit on Maurice one day. It was Maurice and his half-brother Verdine, the bass player, and they were actually out here in Los Angeles, and the whole band decided to quit, and it was just Maurice and Verdine in a hotel room, and they had to rethink and regroup. Well, actually about a year and a half, maybe 2 years prior to that, maybe a year and a half, a band that Philip Bailey and I were in. Now, Philip is the guy with the high falsetto.
Right.
And actually our bass player, Hilliard Wilson, we had a band in Denver, Colorado, and I met Hilliard when I was 11 years old. And we had a band that we were playing like Hugh Masekela and Jimmy Smith and really great instrumental stuff. And eventually, 2 years later, I met Philip. He was singing with 2 other guys, and we snatched them with us. And we ended up eventually opening the show for Maurice with the first Earth, Wind and Fire. And then after we broke up, they broke up. We all grouped together and finally ended up with, I called the original 9. But as per your question about the name, Maurice was pretty much into astrology. And those were the 3 elements that I guess was in his astrological chart. So he was a big astrology guy. Me, not so much. It was funny because we'd be back east or what have you, and I could run into somebody. I'd be like, "Hey, you're a Leo. Yeah. How do you know?" I said, "I don't know," because I never, excuse me, I never really read up on it or anything like that. But I'll tell you how I knew to get out of it. people would come up to you and they go, "Oh, you're a Gemini. You and I aren't going to get along." And I said, "You know what? You are so right."
So right.
But it's not because I'm a Gemini, it's because you're a moron. And so anyway, so much for that. But yeah, that to answer your question, it was in Maurice's astrological Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Because actually back in this...
Tell them what you expand into. I'm joining as guest.
Huh?
I'm joining as guest.
Oh, Earth, Wind, and Lorna. No,
Earth, Wind, Fire, and guest.
no, Earth, Wind, and Lorna, that's it.
Earth, Wind, and Lorna.
Earth, Wind, and Lorna. So yeah, so actually we met this lovely lady here. Like I said, we're doing the Vicki Abelson, the women's writers group, and it was all these chickses, man, in a condo in Pasadena and Glendale, wherever, Montrose, wherever. It took us a while to get there, and we just had a great time. And it wasn't, it was not Earth, Wind, and Fire. Most of the original members of Earth, Wind, and Fire we kind of disbanded after the Raise tour, which was We Can Boogie Down, Get Down. That was '82, and so they kind of regrouped. Maurice did a solo project, which was pretty good, but I think a lot of people were kind of surprised because on the album cover was a photo of him with jeans and a sweater, and the people were like, "Is that Lionel Richie or is that?" Because they're used to Earth, Wind, and Fire, being a little mysterious and what have you. But we. How would you say? People say Earth, Wind, and Fire, but for the women's group, it was just Earth, Wind, and Larry. Earth, Wind, and Larry and Lulu. And so yeah, because it was about 19. Luisa and I got together, believe it or not, in '83. Last week we just celebrated our 31st anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
And when people look at her, they go, "She doesn't even look 30. Oh, shut up. I married her when she was 6 and I was 12. But absolutely, yeah. So we got together in '83, and immediately, we started doing music. I mean, I heard her singing, and I said, "Hey, you should do that." "I'm not so sure." I said, "Hey, would you rather do this for the man?" And lo and behold, not only did she have a great voice, just her ability, her hearing abilities, and then we parlayed that into her writing abilities and her producing, and it was just a wonderful thing. So I actually formed our own band, and eventually became LDO, the Larry Dunn Orchestra. And so when we did the thing with Lorna and the ladies, it was just basically, Larry Dunn, LDO, and I brought Luisa and 3 other singers, just me on keyboards, and as we say, we lit it up. And then I looked around, remember there was an Oriental lady there, and we were doing Let's Groove, and she was dancing her off. It's on the YouTube, I think, as well, and we're like, wow. So we just had a great time, and then these two have stayed in contact ever since. Like she said, she called and she said, "We're going to be best friends forever."
Yes, she's a sweet.
She has that personality.
Get a room, you two.
She's my BFF.
Now you're actually from the Bronx.
Yes, I'm a Bronx girl.
My old neighborhood.
And, I was born in Manhattan, but I was raised in the Bronx my whole life.
No, not your whole life.
Almost. But I was back and forth when we were dating, remember?
No, but before that, your mama drug you out here. How old were you when you came out here? You were young.
I was young.
But your mom was trying to get away from...
7, 8 years old.
Right, so she's been back and forth.
Back and forth, living.
And I was raised in Colorado, Denver. Philip and I hear you.
Big difference there from Denver and Acapulco, the Bronx.
Well,
I say he's country.
Because I'm
a little bit country. Go on.
And I'm a little bit
rock and roll.
Because I grew up the Acapulco, Dion and the Belmonts, Belmont Avenue and all that, and Frankie Lyman, and named the street after. Wow. That was my era of those guys back then. And the doo-wop music, I guess it was still going on when you were a kid, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking, today the music is so different. I mean, rap compared to the groups in the old days, the Moonglows, and I knew Earth Angel and all those records of this and that. It's such a big difference today.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, remember that there was Steve Harvey. Remember they had that thing, Kings of Comedy, and it was hilarious. I mean, we watched most of it, but every time it got to the mother boop, and she would just change the channel. And
I sure would.
It got very explicit. But there was one part where it was Steve, because he's a huge EWF, and then just a music fan. And he was saying, Earth, Wind, and Fire, would you mind? He said, that was real music. And he said, you look at groups like the Four Tops.
Right.
He said, man, these brothers had one microphone, and they would do their steps, and come back around the microphone and sing their butts off. He said, nowadays you got 27 rappers on stage, they all got a mic, and ain't none of them saying sugar, honey, iced tea. And, but like I said, every generation, there is, the older generation, well, the music today is terrible, and the kids are, but there's always, music carries on. There's some great music today, Alicia Keys and John Legend, Adele, who cleaned up at the Grammys and showed everybody, hey, didn't matter about her size or about her color, either way, it was about music. And we've been doing a lot of different radio interviews and stuff, and people always ask me, coming from the fire, so where would you like to see music go? And I say simply, I would like to see it go, I think, where it was originally intended from God Almighty, and that was simply to edify. Doesn't mean every song has to be a gospel song. I mean, everybody has different avenues in life, but at least something that edifies. And I always say this, I said, every male that has walked, is walking, or will walk, had a mother, or has a mother, perhaps, and then of course a grandmother, maybe a wife, an aunt, a sister. When did they become the B and the H word?
Right.
And like I said, sometimes when you are blessed with a gift, no matter what it is, because everybody, I believe, on earth is here for a distinct purpose and maybe many reasons. And so no one is better than anyone because of what they do. But if you have the gift of music or writing, such as Lorna or whatever, you should use that to help someone and to edify people. And I think that's a big difference in, not all, but a lot of the music today and the music back then. Message music.
Message music. There was a message years ago. Today you're right. I mean, today a lot of the messages that I don't hear that much because I don't listen to it. I mean, when you came in the house, I have 88.1 on a jazz station.
Right.
I listen to jazz and we were talking earlier, and opera, and I'm a big Sinatra fan, being Italian. But we were talking earlier, because you have a very incredible voice. And the training.
That's all messed up.
Well,
Only on Tuesday.
now, did you train, did you work on the basics of, the diaphragm speech?
No. This is
Your
just,
natural bass.
Because believe it or not, I'm not really a singer. People go, oh, Larry, you can sing. But I've worked with singers so long, producing them, that I know enough to sing what I want to hear, and then I prefer them to sing it. But in Earth, Wind, and Fire, I became musical director at 21 years old, and I think so it's not so much about me singing. I think God gave me this big loud mouth. So when we're rehearsing, I could yell across the soundstage to the horns. You have to yell at them. Hey, you play the G and you play the C, and on the trumpet. But I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. And even one of the guys that sings with us that was there, Lorna Leslie, he's been with Phil Collins and everyone. He's like, no, Larry, you can really sing. I'm like, I don't really care. My comfort zone is absolutely keyboards. I mean, I started beating on keyboards. We had a raggedy upright in the living room when I was like 2 years old. My mom was Italian, and my father was African American.
Oh.
And so I was raised around a lot of music. My father played bass, upright bass, guitar, and piano. So when I was about 5 years old, 4 or 5, he taught me Blueberry Hill by Fats Domino.
Fats Domino,
yeah.
Sure. The fabulous fat man from New Orleans.
Yeah, a lot of people, they don't know who he is, but a real American icon.
And he's still around.
Yeah, God bless him.
Yeah.
And he was a dietitian in his spare time.
Really? No, you
just
come here. Walk into this.
Good knee.
But yeah, then we go to North Denver with the Italians, and they'd have the guitars playing the Italian folk songs, what have you. So I was always raised around a lot of great music, And
What part of Italy was your mother from? Calabria.
Actually, I mean, she was born in Colorado, but my grandparents took the boat from Calabria, I guess, to New York, and then they.
Does your mother call it gravy or sauce?
Sauce.
Oh, okay. We call
Yeah,
it
yeah.
gravy.
I know the East Coast is always the gravy.
Gravy. We call it gravy. People, I got to make gravy. And I still make it on Sundays. I got to have it.
Oh, I make some homemade gravy that's unbelievable.
Really?
I've heard about it.
I cook like I got you. I cook about 6 nights a week now. She cooked for the first 16 years.
And then I said, it's your turn. No.
And then I would always go in the kitchen and ruin it anyway. Try some of this.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's been-
Is that how you cook? The way I cook? I have a friend, Tony Dennison, who's on Crime Story. He's always, when people ask him, how does, John, they know me as, how does he cook? A little bit of this, a little bit of, I don't know what I put in there. People ask me what I do, I don't know.
That's a dangerous thing.
Right. I mean, I started off just reading recipes or whatever. Sometimes I still do, but like she said, she's more grandma and I'm more gourmet, but now we're kind of meeting.
Yeah.
She can be gourmet and she can also be grandma and I can be grandpa and I can be
Grandpa
gourmet.
status.
But I love cooking though.
Oh, I do. Isn't it a great way just to relax and
Right,
get you?
it's good there.
I put Pavarotti on when I'm,
I love Pavarotti.
Oh, and I think I have, I don't want to play
And
now.
John Sutherland.
Yeah,
John
oh,
Sutherland.
yes.
I'm an opera
Yeah,
buff.
I'm a big opera. I love opera.
I love it.
Yeah, it's the music of my heart. And do you like opera? I mean,
I love all types of music. I started with the piano.
I
Then
love the
in
piano.
4th grade, I got an acoustic guitar. And I learned all of the Beatles stuff. I learned Ray Charles. Then in 5th grade, I wanted to be in the school band. And this was before they started systematically taking the arts out of the school. They had loaner instruments. And I knew that my folks were not going to be able to afford to buy another instrument. Because I got the guitar a year ago. So I'm like, I want to be in the band. So the day that they gave out the loaner instruments, I was home with a sore throat. Ironic, I haven't had a cold for 100 years. But coming from New York, I got a cold now. First time in 100 years. But anyway, I missed that day. So the next day when I went back, the only instrument they had left on loaner was a baritone horn, not the sax. Baritone horn is like a miniature tuba.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
Yeah, it plays this beautiful secondary melodies, Laura and all that different stuff. And then with the case, it was bigger than I was, but I would lug it home every day. I was just so happy to have it and be a member of the band. Then in 6th grade, we got up like 2 in the morning Christmas Eve and we're looking around. And we saw some huge stuff, with a sheet covering it. So me and my 2 brothers had a band called the Big D3. And my older brother was so excited. They thought it was some huge amplifiers. Much to their chagrin, when they ripped it was an organ for Larry. So I was happy yet cautious. And but it was amazing because I would sit in there, man, in the living room, had the little red light. I'm still a big kid for lights. And I would take my father's Jimmy Smith jazz records and Kenny Burrell and put them on the turntable and slow it from 33 1/3 to 16 half speed and learn all of the jazz riffs and stuff. So actually by the time I was 13, by 15, my little mom, God bless her, she allowed me to play 21 and over nightclubs 7 nights a week.
Really?
And we were playing everything, like I said, from Jimmy Smith and Dionne Warwick, Promises with the time change, and then at that point, the Moments, the Temptations, the Supremes, Eddie, what was it, Knock 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 on Wood, Eddie Floyd, on and on and on. They're like I said a million times, to be a member of a band in those days was only one prerequisite: you had to play your butt off.
Yeah.
They didn't care if you were tall or short, fat or skinny, cute or ugly, black or white, green or blue. You had to play. And we had a genuine love for the music, like you're talking about today. And you can't blame it on the new generation. Like our manager said, there's a lot of old Julio Iglesias out there.
Yes.
Not Julio, Julio.
Julio.
And you ask them, well, what do you want to do? They say, I want to be a famous rapper. Why? I want the women. They don't use that word. I want the women. I want to be famous. I want to bling bling. And I want to be rich. I'm like, whatever happened to, first of all, wanting to be good at what you do?
Yeah. It's like in my profession, I'm an actor, And today they want to be movie stars, not actors.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same.
You know what? It's ironic because I tell people, I said, I think one of the biggest drugs of all history is that
Is
freaking
this here.
camera.
Right.
Because back in the
This
day,
Camera.
the most egregious thing that you do, a child molester, a child rapist, someone that rapes a little girl at 2 years old. I mean, my God, back in the day, you just want to disappear off the earth. Now, no matter even
Well, they
that,
did,
they can't
too.
wait to be on the camera.
Right. They go on Jerry Springer,
Right.
this and that, and
On
talk
the
about
Channel
it.
2 News, I raped a little girl. It's like, are you serious? But
And they glorify
Yeah,
these people
right,
on,
right.
on
And
the news. And,
They do. They,
Yeah.
you know, it's they love that.
Yeah, bad is good.
Anything
and good is
to
bad.
fill up them time slots that they have. You're right. That's a whole new show
Yeah.
because
that's a horse of another color. Yeah,
I
that's
did,
actually a tune on our latest.
there was a movie called Short Eyes, about prison. It was called Short Eyes, about being raped. But the real reason, and see, I did 16 years, and
Get out.
and I knew short eyes really meant you could only see as far as the wall. The true meaning was short heist. But since it was Puerto Ricans in New York and they couldn't pronounce short eyes, so they made it short eyes. Miguel Pinero, who wrote it, was a child molester himself. And I used to tell people he was a degenerate when they bring up his name to me.
Where were you for 16 years?
In Atticus, Sing Sing, and all that. I was away for organized crime. But, I understand a lot of those things when you talk about.
We knew a friend who was in organized crime, Dennis Tenorino. And
Oh, yeah.
Dennis, well, he was a cop.
No, Dennis.
Oh, you do? Oh, I'm thinking Dennis Farina, the cop.
No,
Tenorino?
Dennis Tenorino. He
Oh,
was.
oh, a different
bodybuilder.
He was an Italian guy, bodybuilder. He actually won Mr. Universe 3 times, competing against. This is Arnold. This is Arnold. Arnold.
Like Arnold.
Anyway,
And he became a
but yeah, he became
preacher.
a preacher, and he ministered in over 57 different countries.
Ah,
And his wife, Anita Tenorino, she was a New York girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually passed about 3 years ago, but she still carries on his ministry. But
well, Michael Francesi did that too. When his father was a dear friend of mine, Sonny Francesi. We were away in 1967. He got 50 years.
that's
And,
the one that would say, "Where you been?" Away.
Away, upstate.
I mean, I'm dying to go away.
Yeah, they say in the clink. Excuse me.
But that, well, I
God
just
is
saw.
good, though. He always gives all of us second chances or more chances.
Well, you have
He's
to.
a sovereign God.
But back to my favorite movie. Believe it, one of my favorite was Brown Midnight.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
That was something else.
The greatest line was when he said, "I'll have what he had." Dexter Gordon in that voice.
That's when Sally met Harry.
But that was what a great movie. I tended bar in Greenwich Village, and right across from the village gate, and so I got to see a lot of the band. They used to come across the street because the wine was cheaper in our place than in the village gate. So a lot of the guys from the bands, like from Monk's band and all the rest, used to come across, and I got to know a lot of them. What sweet people it was. That's what got me into jazz back then. That was in 1967.
Wow. So you're familiar with Jimmy Smith and Kenny
Yeah,
Burrell?
well,
and all,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Like I said about the kids, there's still kids, I'm sure, that were like we were, that reach out there and search and they find, great music and try to mimic that, That's not going to change. But the thing is, our drummer, Ty Fleming, great kid, a great man. He lives in Corona, down in Riverside. I was talking to him yesterday, and he teaches these underprivileged kids. And what a great thing. He's just got such a heart. He's like, I don't hardly charge him, and I do them one at a time. And he said, but the thing that's really disheartening is that I can teach them this music, but they don't really get it at home. At home, they're listening to this, it's like,
speaking of this music, I didn't mean to cut you off before we end.
go ahead, go ahead.
I mean, you're here for a reason to talk about, Larry Dunn tribute to. What is it about? And
A tribute to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Well, thank you for printing this out.
we can, let me see if I
I'll
can.
cook something for you now.
Yes, let me see.
I
There
did
it
that for 6
It's
months.
it's Larry Dunn's tribute to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Because like I said, I got with them when I was just turned 18 years old, and Philip had just gotten with them, and then I got with them, and so I know, like I said, musical director at 21, and wrote or co-wrote a lot of the material, Shining Star, but
Uh-huh.
I wrote a lot of the stuff that was not necessarily, you know, dance hits or whatever, but more ethereal, Be Ever Wonderful, Spirit, Running, a lot of just more musical things. So we decided to go ahead and put together a tribute to Earth, Wind & Fire. So I've got myself, Luisa, I got Tico Wells from the Five Heartbeats, Leslie Smith, Procton Bonnell on all of the four vocalists, and I've got Hilliard Wilson bass, Ty Fleming drums, Geo Evans on guitar, and in the horns I got a great four-piece horn section, Steve Baxter on bone, Keith McKelly on sax, Bill Churchfield on trumpet, and Michael Hunter on trumpet.
And this is going to be where and when?
This is going to be at the Burbank Starlight Bowl. That's right, the Burbank Starlight Bowl. That's going to be July 19th. We've got a band called the Platinum Groove is going to open up for us, and we'll take the stage, I don't know, between maybe 7:30 and 8 or something like that. And I never knew about it, but it's a beautiful venue in the foothills of Burbank, 4,000-seater, and the tickets are going quick, so get it.
Is there a number they can call?
There is a number. The number is 626-869-7328.
Yes, you
And I will put that on.
memorized it.
I will put that on when I put it up today, because this will go up today.
And guess what he's going to be singing?
What?
Playing.
Play. He
He's
don't
going to be
sing.
singing Happy Birthday to me.
Oh, it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Their birthday is going to be the next day.
The next day. Oh, that's great.
I remember that.
I don't know about singing, but
Sing.
I'll try to. I don't.
You sang for Vicky.
Not me.
You opened your mouth with the sun coming out.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, that's funny. Actually, she's spoiled because I did a gig about 3 years ago at the waterfront in Marina, and Stevie showed up to hang out with us and got up and sang his rendition of that to Luisa, and she was like a deer in the headlights.
I was shocked, and I
Really?
was so blessed.
It was a great evening.
It
And
has to be.
you never know what Stevie's going to be, so maybe he'll show up. We don't know.
We're going to end part one, and we got a little time. We're going to come back with part two. But I want to bring Sharon Benson in, who had the band with David Carradine, the late Carradine, and maybe we can get some questions and things like that for the audience to find out. I would like to know how you guys really got, what got you interested in all this and that. So we're going to come back with part two in a minute.